Here's something that we were not expecting. A TMNT compilation containing almost all of the classic TMNT games from the 8 and 16-bit generation. From what we can tell, this collection has not been released yet, so unfortunately you won't be able to rush a video out to clout chase from the hype of this new collection. Konami has clearly realized that making compilations with a bunch of ROMs is the way to go. Putting the ridiculous rating and badly looped music from the TMNT arcade aside, we are happy to say that most of these old TMNT games are here. You got TMNT Radical Rescue, a game that when people online review it, they almost always say the same repetitive thing, that the same folks who worked on Symphony of the Night made this average good game. You got the unfairly infamous and first TMNT game for the NES, and you also even have the Mega Drive/Genesis version of Tournament Fighters. We bet a crap ton of dead controllers from raging streamers that people is going to be using pushover features like rewinding, since Mega Drive Tournament Fighters is simply a good looking, but ultimately cheap game. But even so, people might still whine and complain anyway. While this collection seems decent, we still think it's going to be a bust because it doesn't have games like TMNT Manhattan Missions for MS-DOS, and who even knows if the emulation will be great during day one. The Japanese companies never fail to disappoint when it comes to not emulating Western tech devices. It's the same problem we saw with the SNK collection, and how they included the NES versions of the games, but not the Atari 2600 versions. But anyways. Hopefully Viacom/Nickelodeon won't change their minds about this TMNT compilation, and instead they will also allow a Garfield compilation with a lot of bad, average, but classic Garfield games. Yes, we know, most Garfield games are bad, but they can definitely be better than the recent soulless Garfield cartoons uploaded to YouTube, or any of Heathcliff's games. Don't worry Heathcliff, we still love you. Now, let's talk a bit about TMNT Shredder's Revenge, brought to us by .emu, the same folks that gave you the Raiden Legacy collection, and its poor sound emulation, and the Double Dragon Trilogy collection, and its lack of title screens for the games, and a cheaply made new HUD. You wouldn't believe how hard it was to not come across anything related to this stupidly overhyped bloody game online. The same goes to that stupid Pride Month nonsense. As soon as we saw the trailer, we were either bored or disappointed. All the trailer is just some nostalgia animation, but very little gameplay footage. But we bet a copy of Little Samson that none of you would criticize this trailer like that, because you are too busy getting high with that hype and nostalgia. There is bits of gameplay footage, but we were already having low expectations, since we already knew the graphics are pixelated anyway. The reason this is bad is because pixelated graphics is something that an average Joe can easily make himself on MS Paint, or even a shelf like MS-DOS. This game better be compared to another overpraised TMNT game, Turtles in Time. But when you get down to it, this game is just made for all of those Miss Pac-Man loving creeps that grew up with this stupid family-friendly version of a good comic book series. And before you make an exposed video, we already know that we are sympathizing with Mr. Peter Laird, but what do you expect? The 87 Turtles have had enough tributes already. It's time to give the original Turtles some more love, and a bloody beer for good measure, and make sure it doesn't end up being another arcade attack on the DS. Many of you might disagree, but we give Shredder's Revenge a big and fat thumbs down. This game clearly suffers from the same problems that Turtles in Time also suffers from, a ridiculous amount of praise. Next time you make a TMNT game, make sure it's based on the more mature comics version. If you want to play a TMNT beat 'em up with anthropomorphic friends from your childhood, then just play Rescue Palooza instead. It won't take 1 GB of space on your computer, that's for sure. TMNT.